Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Giggles and Gratitude. I'm Dena.
And I am Diana.
Happy Sunday. How was your week, Diana?
I was trying to recover from the last week, Dana.
Your big, what do you
Big
call it?
shindig.
Shindig. I was going to say shenanigan, but it's a shindig, not a shenanigan.
Shindig. So I've actually taken a few days just to kind of clean my house and do things that I couldn't do last week. Go to the grocery store, those kind of things.
It's not fun, but necessary, and it makes you feel like you accomplished something when you can mark those off your list, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those to-do lists are kind of like when you're a little kid and got off from school, you would play, and that's kind of my play. Like when I have time to do things I need to do that brings me the same joy. Well, maybe not the same joy as playing outside, but
Yeah, vacuuming and laundry. I mean,
feels like when you get a nice vacuum as a gift, you're like, yeah.
yeah, yes. It's amazing how our likes of gifts has changed over the years.
Anything that makes our life easier. Well, we're coming into gift giving season, but we are currently smack dab in the middle of spooky season. And I'm just wondering, and I don't know the answer to this, and I love it when I can ask you something that, even though I've known you for many years, I don't know the answer to. What was Halloween like in your childhood? What role did that play in your childhood?
I always got to dress up, go play, out with the other kids trick or treating. We lived in a subdivision. Way back when you would go to the individual homes. So I looked forward to it every year.
So did I. It was a big deal for me and my sister. I had an older sister, still have an older sister, and we would go into a lot of planning for our costumes. We usually would make our own costume using our own clothes and makeup and do each other's faces. And
Mhm.
we get a huge grocery bag. Back in my day, grocery bags were big brown bags, and we'd get them from the local grocery store and just carry them like a huge, ridiculously huge bag. We didn't have handles. We just like holding on to them. Whereas most people had the little pumpkins, so that didn't hold much. What are you kidding? What's not worth going outside for? So I
Not
had
worth even
huge,
getting dressed up for.
exactly. Putting on makeup for this. And our neighborhood was great. Everyone participated, and I had a lot of kids my age in my neighborhood that I went to school with, and we'd all plan and we'd go together. We'd all meet up and walk together, so there was safety in numbers, and we had a lot of fun. And I usually fell down and spilled all my candy, and the little boys would grab it and run and, push
Oh,
me over and stuff. It was all a rite of passage, but it was a big deal to me. And I'm not sure if it was a big deal to my sister, but it was a big deal to me. I would hang scary decorations in my bedroom when I was little, watch scary movies on television, and loved to be scared. We even made our own haunted house in the neighborhood. We used a basement of my friend, and we charged 5 cents to go through it. And I enjoyed being scared. I enjoyed watching things that I had to hide under the covers and peek out for. I was scared of the dark.
yeah.
Might be correlated there. And I had to have a special light where I clicked my light off and then I'd run and jump in bed because it wouldn't go off. It was like a delayed switch my dad put on in my bedroom because I was so afraid. And
Oh,
it would take about 30 seconds for the light to go out, but I could get in bed so the monsters couldn't get my feet, as I was walking through the dark.
I thought you liked to be scared.
I know, it's strange. I'm very complicated. So my point is, did the fact that that appealed to me, that was a big part of my childhood. And like when Jaws came out, I decorated my room with the shark, cut out the shark out of the Jaws poster, and I cut a woman's leg out of a magazine and put it in his mouth. And was I obsessed with death? I don't know. But I was raised to believe in God. My mother and dad were Christian. They taught Sunday school, but that was a big part of my fun of my childhood. And I know it's not for some people. Like I say, I don't think it was for my sister. And as I grew up, I carried that with me. And year before last, I mean, I go to haunted house every this time of year. I haven't this year. And so it comes up as a Christian, is that a good thing? So what is your adult attitude towards this season?
I think that as children, we can have fun and celebrate. Again, it's ghosts and goblins, and we get that at an early age. But it is the movies that Hollywood has portrayed, especially more towards adults. The younger kids can't even go into the movies, but anymore, Halloween is more about dressing up as a zombie or something that's kind of creepy, and even some demonic type of things, I feel like, go on at Halloween. So it really depends on keeping it into the perspective of simple and still can be fun for children. But I feel like a lot of times that being scared and the things that we're exposed to, like Ouija boards and things like that, on people walking on the ceiling, that is not normal. uh, and
Letting Lionel Richie do that.
I,
No, he was dancing on the ceiling.
yeah, I think dancing maybe is different. I don't know. But when people start walking, crawling on the ceiling, I am out. Peace out.
It's not
I'm
your
out.
kind of movie to
No,
watch the demonic movies.
no, it's not.
Well, I listened to a podcast by Allie Beth Stuckey. Are you familiar with her?
No, I'm not.
She's a Calvinist, which that's a whole nother topic for another episode. I don't know exactly what that means.
I was going to ask you, you're going to have to give me what that means.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that on another episode. But she's a Christian, and I don't know how her belief system differs from Protestant beliefs and how it
Hmm.
aligns and how it doesn't align. But she's a good influencer. I think she's level-headed and she tackles tough responses. And she kind of is taking on a role that Charlie Kirk had since his passing, where she'll sit across the table from somebody who disagrees with her and debate. And she's very thoughtful and considerate and gentle, maybe more gentle than he was with her response, just because she's a woman, probably, you know.
Right, right.
So her episode of it's called Relatable. It's her podcast. It's episode 1257, and I'll include a link, is about Halloween. Is it possible to redeem Halloween and use it for God's glory, or should Christians just opt out entirely due to what you said, Diana, the demonic activity and the pagan origins? Now, we're not going to get into the origin of Halloween because I think there's a lot of examples of that on the internet. And Tia and I did an episode. I don't know if it was last Halloween or the year before, but I'll include a link to that too, where it was a history of Halloween, not really judging it or the Christian perspective. It was just a history of it. Tia is not a fan of anything spooky or scary. She will decorate fall decorations on her porch and set a bowl of candy out because her neighborhood is just, I mean, teething with little trick-or-treaters. So she don't want to be a old grump, but she also does not want to go to the door and fully participate in the ritual. And it makes her dogs bark too. So she'll put a bowl out and say, help yourself. And the question is, should you be the lady in the neighborhood if your neighborhood is full of trick-or-treaters that turns the lights off and shuts down and lets people know by that you want nothing to do with it? Or could you be the person who how what other time are you going to have that many children and neighbors actually coming and knocking on your door, as we don't really visit our neighbors anymore? What positive message could you send?
So I have an idea. You
Okay,
could make little bags that had all the different candies in it, and then you could put a fun, simple Bible verse that the kids would be able to read and understand.
good idea. And Allie Beth actually said when she was young, they did the trick-or-treating. They were not allowed to dress in ghoulish outfits. They could be a puppy dog, kitty cat, cartoon character,
Right.
but they weren't allowed to be a demonic or scary or ghoulish costume because that is celebrating death in her mother's mind. And there's plenty of scriptures, and I'll include links to those, where we are to celebrate light and love and life, not celebrate death. And there are some cultures that do celebrate death. and it's not what my interpretation of the Bible says. We should celebrate the life of someone, mourn the death, but not make it fun and a holiday. And the origin of, I do remember the origin of putting out treats was so that demons would pass your home by and not kill you. You know, it's like death would pass your door if you left out a treat. So you are contributing to that ritual, even if your intention is not that. And I have heard people who are former, quote, witches on social media and members of the Church of Satan said that we loved Halloween. We loved to see everybody participating in the blood and the gore, even though it was fake, blood and gore. I mean, you can go to Home Depot and spend a half an hour looking at their scary decorations and press those buttons and they do all these scary things. And they said, we love it. It makes us happy to see that. It's not that you're worshiping the devil and participating knowingly, but it does feed the energy that they feel and they celebrate it. And they use that day and night to celebrate their beliefs in darkness and death and Satan. So you
Hmm.
kind of have to keep that in mind. You know, do you want to be a part of that on the outskirts? Or some people say, yeah, that's stupid. What are you even talking about? So if you are a family with kids and you have already established scary movies, scary games, with like you said, you can't get into that scary of a movie, but with streaming, the kids are exposed to it. They can watch it without you even knowing it if they know the password to all the streaming stuff. And once that's in your brain as a child, when your brain is being formed, that can really lead to fears, like I had the fear of the dark, can lead to believing in darkness over this power of God and lightness.
And believing there's something really under your bed.
Exactly. So my childhood was a lot of fear and it affected decisions I made, it affected my sleep. So I don't think it was good for me to be exposed to that. I'm not saying my mom and dad didn't, you know, they were great parents and didn't realize how it affected me. I think, and they really weren't encouraging, but they allowed all that. So I think, is it better to just not expose your kids to death and darkness and participating in that to begin with and use it as a learning moment to say, people are probably going to make fun of you because you don't like scary stuff and you don't dress up scary. But that is going to happen to you again as a Christian. You're going to encounter persecution, teasing, challenging, temptation. So if you and I don't have kids, but if you had a child thinking about all these points, how do you think you would raise them? Do you think they would miss out so much on so much fun if you left the Halloween out?
I don't think it would be a huge detriment, but it is a something that everybody celebrates every year. I would take my kids to a church where they have the trunk or treat at the church and let them play their games and just always try to keep, and especially younger, keep it on the side of light and, friendly ghost. If you have to be, if you see a ghost, that's a friendly ghost, so that kids don't get it, as you said, implanted into their brain early that there is a reason to fear something.
Hmm. Hmm. I think you're going to be afraid of just the world itself. Eventually, you're going to learn that more horrific things you could ever imagine on Halloween actually happen in real life,
Right?
and that you have the armor of God, you have God to protect you. And I think it could really be a teaching moment, like I say, to say, we're going to have kids come to our home. They're going to knock on our door. We love our neighbors. We love our kids. You can help hand out the candy, but know that celebrating the scarier things, I don't approve of that. I don't like that. And I don't think that we should participate in it. I mean, it's such a great, have to have a discussion, you know,
Yeah.
at that time, rather than just throwing your kids out to mingle amongst the madness, you know.
I love how you've kind of come full circle on the whole thing, where as a child you thought you liked that, and maybe you still do somewhat, as long as people aren't walking on the ceiling like we talked about.
Well, I really love to, as a matter of fact, I just got an email from the haunted house I went to a year before last saying, you know, you're running out of time. You need it. And I thought, boy, that's interesting that I was about to talk about this. Of course, tis the season. And then I get that email and I think, I don't think I'm going to do it. I mean, I go with my friends and we scream and push each other and run. And, it's adrenaline rush, I guess is what it is.
Well, you and I have never done that, nor are we going to plan it. You have to take somebody else, baby.
I mean, I've been chased by chainsaws and everything.
Oh
Axes.
my goodness. And you paid to have this done.
I did. I paid to be tortured like that. And I think it's just a personality type because I think there's some people like you and like Tia. It's like, this does not appeal to me at all. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I can explain it. I don't know why I feel that way too.
You just like the adrenaline rush.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I don't indulge in narcotics, so this is my adrenaline rush.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to
And I
know
like the
that.
creativity, the makeup and the creativity. And it just makes me laugh, really.
Honestly, I do think that's probably, now that you mention that, you are very artistic and your eye sees a lot of things that normal people probably wouldn't be able to see right in that second that they're jumping out in front of your face. But you would appreciate the different costumes with the makeup. And so maybe that's your allure to it.
Maybe so. I think if I had children at this moment, which would be a divine miracle, but if I did, I would opt out of that. But like you say, our church does a trunk or treat. There's so many celebrations you can go to that are age appropriate. And I would explain, like I said before, use it as a teaching moment. I think it's important, and Allie said this too, I hadn't thought about it. It's important not to be intimidated or even afraid of the season and what you think is the power out there because Satan has no power.
Right?
There are people who are influenced that do evil things. Is real, but if you're that person who closes your blinds and locks the door and cowers and says, "I'm going to pretend this isn't going on," then I feel like you don't have the faith and the strength that God tells you light is over darkness. So you're kind of missing an opportunity and you're cowering and giving Satan the power he does not have.
Man,
Just my opinion.
I like your opinion. Well said.
Thank you. So I think it's up to each individual. I wouldn't lecture my neighbors, but like you said, you include a little scripture. As Allie grew up, her mother had a little tract that she printed herself, and I didn't see it, so I don't know. I'd say you could go into the Bible pretty easily and find some scriptures that could pertain to this situation. And she would tie it to a Snickers bar. She would tie a little ribbon through it, or any. I don't want to give Snickers an ad. Any kind of little candy bag, slip it in there. And they have those little Jesus now, which I'm not sure how I feel about those little plastic Jesuses, but you could include one of those in
Yeah.
with it. And I think that would actually be a blessing to have that opportunity to reach so many kids, or even throw your own little carport party or garage party for the kids with fun stuff.
Right.
It
And
has,
of course, it's age dependent of your explanations. As they age, you're going to want to go ahead and embrace on those conversations that there are things out there that are not good, that are not biblical, and can cause us to get into trouble if we spend too much time on that.
yeah. And speaking of adults, now we've grown up. I have gone to many nightclub and danced my little scary costume off. Not and dance it off, but shake my little scary booty and drink and enjoyed coming up with an outfit. But on Halloween as adults, you see the sexy nurse, the sexy police officer, the sexy ghost, whatever. And I wouldn't do that. I don't think I would do that now either, to go out on Halloween dressed like that. And I have seen it, some few influencers who are either Mormon or their general posts are about religion in their home, and they have the adult sexy Halloween party where it's just
Mhm.
the only time
Right.
I'm allowed to dress up like a little demon or whatever. And I don't feel good about that. I didn't feel good about that and unfollowed some of them because I thought this is not good for my psyche.
Psyche. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you participate, and you don't have to answer, but would you participate in an adult Halloween party? And
I have before, and it was, pretty upbeat. There was nothing, where my spirit felt like I shouldn't be here. It
Okay.
was basically an office party and everybody dressed up, but it was really tame or I would have
Okay.
left.
Okay. All right. I think if you feel convicted this time of year from what you've normally done, there's a reason. If you're questioning it, I say don't do it. That's just for me, for my
Right.
opinion. Okay. All right. Well, I'll include a link to her hour-long podcast because it goes into a lot of detail, a lot of different opinions. I think you can pray about it and I think don't, like I say, lecture other people and say you're doing it wrong. You're doing this wrong because I think it's about the prayer and your conviction and your situation, like you said, your particular situation in life. But I would say err on the side of not celebrating death if you haven't started with your children already, and use it as a teaching moment, and maybe hand out Bible verses if you have a big Halloween crowd. All right, I'm done. Thank you guys for listening. I'm going to turn it over to Diana. Do you have anything else you'd like to say on the subject?
I don't, but I'm ready to do our devotional.
Okay, bring us home.
This is going to be called Practice Holding Your Tongue. Ooh, this should be interesting. Many of us are quick to comment on really practically anything, and will gladly comment on someone else's comment, their opinion, or a mistake that we perceive that they have made. We offer just our own little opinion. We comment on a policy, a pattern of behavior, or just a personal gripe. Often, we just want to get something off of our chest. Sometimes when we're mad or we're frustrated, we'll blurt something out, an expression of the way that we are feeling. Or maybe it comes out as a defensive jab. We comment a lot on people's looks, the way they behave, or the way that they seem to think. Sometimes our comments are critical in nature, and other times they are complimentary or engaging. Often we'll share our vision, a belief, a potential solution, a prejudice, or just a simple observation. Obviously, now there are going to be times when other people ask that we comment or we share our point of view. And a great deal of the time, we are just simply being responsive to that moment, and our comments are just absolutely appropriate. In fact, that is probably the case of a vast majority of the time. But sometimes our comments can be actually, if we turn them around, they could be useful or helpful or simply give someone an idea in order to, whatever the behavior is, to stop that behavior. Sometimes our input can solve a problem, come up with a better solution, or contribute in some meaningful way. So then that's terrific when we comment. But invariably, however, some of those comments are at best unnecessary, and they are counterproductive. They arise out of habit, it is a knee-jerk reaction, or some unexplained need that we have that we feel like we just have to comment. And sometimes these comments can lead to arguments, hurt feelings, and confusion. So these are the ones that we want to avoid making if at all possible. So holding our tongue is not always easy, but it is something that we should practice. A lot of times the question is, how much stress could you avoid by simply learning to bite your tongue when it's in your best interest to do so? I have met more than a few people who claim that this simple change in their habits has greatly contributed to a more peaceful life. And isn't that what we are all seeking, my sweet people? They say that fewer things that we say then if we don't say them, we're not going to regret them later. But things that are said in wisdom that we think about and approach that person in a in a way where we are not coming down on them. Our words are fine-tuned, and it is speaking without anger, but truly trying to help. This is a fairly simple idea you can, implement into your life. I did it a long time ago, and for the most part, it just involves nothing more than a simple pause before you speak. And it's just enough time to allow your wisdom to tell you whether what you are about to say is in your best interest or if it's not. So give it a try. You may actually save yourself a big deal of grief along the way. And in our Bible verse in Proverbs 21:23, it says, "Whoever keeps his mouth and tongue to himself keeps himself out of trouble." So, I am going to practice what I preached this week. I hope this has helped you think about what we said when a conversation comes up that perhaps you should hold your tongue. And that gives you an opportunity to practice. We love you guys. Till next time, have a great Sunday. Bye-bye. God bless you.